Hey, sports porchers! It's your hockey Jesus with my friend, the counselor. Hey, Scotty, how you doing today?
Hey, man, that music, it might be time for a nap, huh?
Funny enough, it's called daydreaming. So, yeah, I think you hit that right on the head there, counselor.
Yeah,
Hey,
somebody was daydreaming in the slot last night to leave, McJesus that wide open.
oh my goodness. And that's what we're going to get to today on the Hockey Jesus show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Four Nations face-off, what we liked about the final, what we liked about the tournament, and where we think the future maybe USA hockey's going. I brought the counselor in because his sons have played hockey in Minnesota. One currently plays now in college. And hey, let's just get right to it. So last night, the USA hockey couldn't pull off the miracle, took it into overtime. But like you said, Mr. Connor McJesus had his time in the sun there. Finally scored the game winner, got that monkey off his back. What'd you think about the game in general, Scott?
Hey, he did, congrats to him, man. He hasn't won anything, and I'm sure he felt like the weight of his entire country was on him last night. So, as a human being and a hockey fan, I'm happy for him.
Right on.
Back to what was going on there. Holy Jesus. I
How
rewound
can
it.
you leave him wide open in the
I
slot like
rewound it
that?
3 times, and, I got into a little argument with my youngest who, you know, played about 10 years of hockey, doesn't play anymore. He
Right.
kept telling me, like, "Dad, take it easy." Adam Fox was in the right position. I thought Fox either needs to go after him or he
Yeah.
needs to hang in there and clog the lane, and
Looked like
I
Fox
don't.
was heading to the corner, and he was expecting Austin to grab him.
Matthews, yeah,
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 and then Austin just couldn't stop the pass. Really, when it came down to it, he thought he
yeah,
could
and I mean,
stop
he
that
was
pass.
there was nobody within 5 feet of him, which is the real issue, and,
Yeah,
either that D-man going down there has gotta either commit and go full on at him and I mean, by the way, I thought Adam Fox was invisible this entire tournament, but,
yeah. I thought he played more physical than he ever did before, and I don't think he plays a very good physical game. I think his game is more moving the puck, more speed. And when he tried to play that physical game, to me, I agree with you. I thought he was out of his element for sure.
yeah, I mean, we'll get into this. I don't think it was a very good tournament for the New York Rangers as a whole. But as it relates to Matthews, he did have 2 assists last night, obviously, but it looks to me like that upper body injury is really affecting him. That that
Yeah.
one chance he had like right in front there. I mean, normally he seems to finish that to me. So anyway, it is what it is overall. I thought, to answer your original question, I thought it was an unbelievable tournament and just tremendous hockey.
Yeah, I thought that USA Hockey actually looked pretty good, especially when they were playing up in Canada at the Bell Center. I thought they dealt with the crowd there much better than when they came back to Boston. Maybe they got just a little too comfortable with the fact that they were going to be in the finals, and when anybody from Canada plays, they're playing. It's like they say about Pittsburgh. When you play Pittsburgh, you play the whole city. When you play Canada, you play the whole country, and that's damn true. I mean, I think that was Canada's edge. And let's face it, Bennington was the difference maker. I could not believe that he played that well. Do you think that was just dumb luck, or do you think that was sheer brilliance by Kyle Dubas for putting him on the roster?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the MO, I think someone said after the game last night, maybe it was Levy, I don't know, but that he's going to let in one that's going to make you cringe, but when the
Yeah.
money's on the line, I thought he did play unbelievably well, and there were 3 or 4 chances there in the first 5 minutes. You thought, holy cow, this thing's going to end pretty quickly the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, I thought for sure that's where it was headed. Yeah. But that's exactly right. Bennington really came up strong. And honestly, let's give it to Hellebuck. I mean, I thought Hellebuck at the end of the game really was keeping the USA team into it, because I just think you're right. I think they had a lot of mistakes and just gave up a lot of too many high danger chances. And ultimately, I think that bit them there in overtime with McDavid right in the slot.
Well, they couldn't keep up with the speed, which, I don't know if we don't want to jump into this right away, but one of the thoughts I had today was, the U.S., as this roster was constructed, and I know we're going to talk about that, couldn't keep up with the speed. And I think it's going to be really challenging on the Olympic ice because you're going to have that much more square footage. So, the roster's got to be really, really different. If I'm Billy Guerin and Mike Sullivan, I'm thinking about how different the roster is going to be because of the speed issue. And I'll further, eat a little crow here because I said on the porch earlier this week that I thought with the play of Dylan Larkin being on the third line, I thought the U.S. had an advantage. But clearly, you saw what Bennett did, and Brock Nelson looked like he was chasing him, like he needed. Brock Nelson needed a turbo booster on his ass yesterday because he was so slow trying to keep up with Sam Bennett.
No, he couldn't keep up with him. And it's like you said earlier to me, not on the show, but we were talking about Bennett. He's not fast. But the one thing I was talking with a colleague today at work that we were talking about Sam Bennett. Wouldn't you love to have him on your team? That guy just plays a complete game. He's not afraid to mix it up, yet he's got the talent to score. And that goal that he scored just showed what kind of talent he has at finishing when he gets the chance to do that. He's a great player. I wish the Penguins had him, honestly.
Yeah, I think Eddie O said on the broadcast there was a mailbox size hole there, and he put it right in it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way of putting it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you think they could have done differently on the roster, maybe to have a different setup. I know that you're particularly harsh about Kreider, and honestly, when he played against Sweden, I thought he had a pretty good game. He scored a goal, but I personally think that, having Matthew Tkachuk only play 7 minutes and you had a guy like Connor sit in the bench because of it. And, Connor's a good goal scorer. I thought that was a big mistake. I get it. You want to play him because, he's out there with his brother. But if you knew the guy could not go, you have to be the adult in the room and say, I'm sorry, we're going to win this game. We have a better chance with the guy on the bench.
Yeah, I think Cal Connor had an injury issue or a sickness or something, didn't he?
No, he was available to play, and he was in the game before. But no, he was available. They could have played him. They could have played him instead of Tkachuk.
Even if you felt like you needed size, I don't know how these rules work, but they did have Tage Thompson available as a fill-in too. I don't know.
Yeah, it had to have been an illness, right, in order for him, and Tkachuk didn't have an illness. But if somebody else did, they could have put him on the.
I got to tell you, I agree with you 100%. I mean, and I understand they wanted to be deferential, and Sully called the two of them the heartbeat of the team and whatever. But look, the goal here is to win.
Right.
I mean, Chris Letang didn't get to play in a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? But
I get it.
That doesn't make the Pens victory that year any less. But I just think the point being is if you knew that I mean, and they were making a big point on the broadcast of he played with a broken sternum, broken bone is very different than a groin, for a skater. I mean, you mentioned my boys. I know my son Ben had kind of the classic hip flexor his junior year in high school that, it stuck with him the whole season, and so
the soft tissue injuries definitely are a different animal than
you got an issue in your core. I mean, you're just not going to be able to skate,
And nobody was, questioning the toughness of the Tkachuk brothers.
No,
the issue was they needed a little bit more talent out there, and they had it on the bench, and they decided to put somebody out there who only played 7 minutes. Give me your thoughts on Kreider. I know you got a few.
Yeah, I just look. Kreider's on the downslide. I think he was scratched at least once, if not twice this year.
Yeah,
and I just, as I said earlier, I mean, we can talk about the Rangers as a whole. I thought Trocheck was not good. The penalty he took in the offensive zone
Yeah, that was
yesterday was
awful.
it was terrible.
It
Was,
didn't bite
I mean,
him, but yeah,
he
that was
just
just ridiculous.
I mean, he just was reaching the whole time, and then he lunges at him. I mean, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this isn't you're trying to get back and back check on a 2-on-1. This is in the offensive zone. I mean,
Yeah.
that's peewee hockey stuff, and
Yeah, that was bad.
but as it relates to Kreider, I don't understand having him on the team, and I think he played 2 shifts last night. They showed, like, after the 10-minute mark in the second period.
Yeah, he
And
didn't play
you
hardly at all in the
you
third.
leave. I mean, we talked about Tage Thompson. What about Clayton Keller? I mean, for God's sakes, you leave Clayton Keller off of this roster.
Good point.
I mean, he's, consistently, he's been one of the top goal scorers. He's not a real big guy, but he plays a pretty feisty game. And, just back to speed, if you say you put Kreider in for speed, he's not playing, so he's not doing you any good on the bench. And,
Agreed.
so I don't understand. I mean, I think there's
Well,
some
I think the concept
major
was
questions.
that you brought in some guys that, maybe could play the role positions, the penalty kill and things like that. And I think you're right. I think it did bite them because, I mean, even in our parish here, somebody like Brian Rust, he can still kill penalties, and he's much faster than Kreider is. Maybe he doesn't have quite the pedigree, the age, whatever that is worth, but it's clear that when USA is going to play on that big sheet of ice, they're going to need some more skaters on that team, and I think they'll switch it up. They'll definitely change that roster up, and I think for the better. That being said, I still don't know if they have the firepower to beat that Canada team. Although maybe they'll put the fire in the belly now that they've lost twice in a row in a gold medal round against Canada. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, look, Canada got kind of lucky on the injury front. I mean, Makar missed a game, but he came back, and I mean, we didn't have Quinn Hughes, and then lose McAvoy. I
True,
mean,
that's a good point.
it's a completely different dimension, especially in those minutes where you're basically going to roll 4D. And I loved what PK Subban said about Jacob Slavin last night, and called him an eraser. I mean, Slavin was just ridiculously good, and
Slavin was excellent.
And how about Brock Faber, man? What a future there.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought him, and even Boldy, I thought played well.
Boldy was good.
Yeah,
Boldy was good. Yeah, and he's just going to get get better. So, but I just go back to Tage Thompson and Clayton Keller, both of those guys. I mean, let's bring Brock Nelson into the conversation again. I mean,
yeah, right.
Brock Nelson and Kreider are both on the backward slide, and they're both good players, but again, Nelson was just chasing Bennett last night, and Trocheck, to your point, I think Trocheck was brought on for penalty killing. Plus, I just think, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he's one of the top face-off men in the NHL.
Yeah.
But that, to me, like, what are you giving up, for that? I mean, Noel Achari's a great face-off man, and nobody was going to put him on the Four Nations roster.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, the other guy that I think was disappointing was Austin Matthews. Where was he with his goal scoring? I mean, he had some chances, but you figure a guy like that's going to get a couple goals in, 4 games. And I think he came in cold, and I think he left even colder, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a reason his numbers are down so much. And I tend to believe there must be something more there in that upper body, just because his finishing, again, I'd probably try not to watch the Leafs play. But he just didn't seem to finish that one chance right in the slot there. I think Gensel hit him. And how about Jake Gensel, though? I thought played really well and kind of showed he belonged.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think Jake was definitely in the top 3 players for the USA throughout the whole tournament. I think if he would have had a really good game in that final, he could have been an MVP candidate for sure. I thought it was interesting. It's always interesting when you see these guys play against each other. I think at one point I saw Sid cross check Gensel. I think it was at the red line or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And I'm like, boy, he's really giving it to him. I was like, who was that guy? I was like, oh, it was Jake.
yeah.
It's just funny when you see that. It's just like, yeah, used to be teammates, great linemen, one of the guys that, he loves the most. But when you get out there, that competitive nature just takes over. It doesn't
Well,
matter who's on
I
the other
I
side.
told you the other night I wanted to see Sid run into the second row by someone, I
Yeah,
mean,
by McAvoy. I know you said that. Hey, and you know what? That's the way it is. And I think everybody gets it. I think that's the excitement about international hockey. You get to see these guys, but they're playing a different role. So I think that's what's exciting. Let's talk a little bit about the ratings. I mean, how about it? 9.3 million watched that last night. In the first game, the Canada USA game, they actually got up to 5.2 in that game. So the ratings have been good. Do you think that might transpose onto the NHL some way, shape, or form?
yeah, I mean, when you think about the cup final, which are national broadcasts, I think, at least the last couple years, I think the whole series, I was about to say all 7, they don't always go 7, but
Right.
you get my point. I think those games usually are between like 2 and 3 million. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Yeah, that's about
by
right.
comparison, I mean, the question is, whether people will stay. It was funny because I don't know if you watched in the pregame. I saw when Billy Guerin brought his cell phone in and the president called the team, and I thought to myself, does the president even know what icing is? But
No, he doesn't.
no, but the question is whether people stick, and I think hockey's just strange and obscure for a lot of people,
Yeah, it
and
is.
and I kind of say the same about having coached lacrosse as I did at the youth level. The
Even
parent
stranger.
right, it's even stranger. The rules
Yeah.
are unusual, and parents are just sort of I mean, the funniest thing is, coaching, parents who would start new, and when I was in Minnesota, they would sometimes send an email that said lacrosse, capital L, small a, capital C, as
Uh-huh.
if it was spelled like Lacrosse, Wisconsin, the place, the name place, right?
Right, right, right.
So I think people struggle. I think people struggle with hockey, and if it's not intuitive to them, and it's hard for the casual fan. So
Yeah, and I
I don't
mean,
know how much of a residual it ultimately has. I know the NHL is sure hoping, but we'll
yeah,
we'll
I
see.
think that.
We'll see how garbage the ratings are for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean they've got some national games on, including our Penguins playing at 3 o'clock against the Capitals. Let's not talk about that right now. Hold your thoughts on that because I have some thoughts about that. I agree with you that I don't think it's going to transpose that much, just because I agree that the NHL and hockey in general is a niche sport here in the States. But I think if the NHL would do a better job at promoting it, that they can get some fans now knowing that next year that they're going to be playing in the Olympics. And if they can start to get people interested now, that'll have better ratings when it comes to the Olympics next year. And I think they're going to keep continuing with these international series. And let's just hope that the IIHF and Russia can get back into the stage, because I think it gets tampered down a little bit when you don't have Russia in. I mean, they're clearly going to be competitive in the international competition, but they're not going to get a chance to play if they keep doing what they're doing over in the Ukraine.
Yeah, I think the Russians too, and back to something we said the other night. I think even to allow non NHL players, although I understand with this short tournament, these guys are all in North America, obviously, but
Right.
there are a lot of there's a lot of high end players, in some of the European leagues. I mean, not just the KHL. So I think that will be interesting to see, when those rosters are rounded out, because it was interesting to me. I think it was The Athletic, and I think I sent this to you, Stevie, that there's only, like, right now, I think there are only 15 Czech players in the NHL. So like they couldn't have
Yeah.
even had a team.
Right. Right. Yeah, they were below the Finns, but and there's always that concept of, well, you can play, the EU, and you can put them all together on a team, but that doesn't work either. I think the national pride is really what brings out the competition. And I think the NHL players, you could hear it when they were being interviewed. It's a source of pride where they come from, and that they're playing for their home country. No more than Canada, let's face it, but it's the birthplace of hockey, so you got to expect that. And I think that's just going to be great for the competition in the Olympics next year. But like I said, I really hope Russia can get back into it. Just to see Ovi get a chance to play on that stage, even with Gino. I think there are a lot of really good Russian players that could do some damage for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, let's
No
talk.
doubt.
Let's talk a little bit about you. You talked about some players who you think were damaged from this. Their play wasn't very good. I think there are a couple guys in particular. Bennington for sure. I even think our buddy, Eric Karlsson, he had a pretty good tournament. Do you think that's going to translate into maybe some trade bait? These guys were not playing. He clearly Eric Karlsson is a starter for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins aren't going to make the playoffs unless they go on a 20-5 tear here in the last 20 games, and we don't think that's going to happen. Hey, maybe it will, but I doubt it. We hold hope out here. All you hockey Jesus fans out there, I know you want to see the Pens go 20-5, but we all are very realistic about what will happen. Do you think maybe Karlsson will get some looks now on the trade market?
I think he will. I think the level he played at, and just the hot commodity that defensemen are,
That's true.
and
Yeah.
I think it's going to, probably my guess is because of the term. I think does he have 2 more years or just 1
Two
after
more
this year?
this year. Yeah, two
Yeah,
more after
I
this
think
year.
really it's that term that's the barrier. And Dubas, I know, has spoken very reluctantly about not being a fan of the buyouts, and having witnessed what happened with Suter and Parise, whose buyout tail is just ending this year.
Just ending. I know. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
they cut them loose, I think, in 21, and so it's just ending.
Yeah.
It's astounding, and you know, I don't know if the Penguins would be willing to retain any of the salary, but I think that the frustrating thing for me, we've talked about this, is that the Karlsson trade, when you look at it now in hindsight, I think it really, really delayed this whole rebuild probably by a year.
Yeah, I
Because of the
think you're
cap
right.
issues.
It's hard to know how a guy like that with such good talent is going to fit in with everybody else, and that was always the worry. And it turns out that's a big worry. But I think you're right. I think if there are a couple of teams out there, I think Calgary is one of them. They have the cap space; they could do it without us having to buy anything out. And let's face it, the cap's going up next year, so
And he has a full no movement, don't forget, too.
he does. That's right. So he would have to be okay with moving. So there's that you have to contend with. But I'm sure he's already been approached by Dubas about what teams he would move to, that sort of thing. Hey, maybe Ottawa wants him back. They're
Well,
going to be in the mix.
I mean, you'd think that the guy would want to compete for a cup again, and I mean, he again is that clock is ticking. So
Yeah, and I think St. Louis fans are probably pretty excited that Bennington played well, because he hasn't played well for them this year. I think they'd be happy to trade him out and get the future going in St. Louis. You think that's probably true?
yeah, I mean, the trade market is so unpredictable. It only takes one Rutherford that's willing to give up the kitchen sink plus the barn and the county store. You
Yeah.
know,
It's true. It's true. You only need one guy who's really stoked about it. It helps if you have two. That way you can drive. You're gonna be able to trade them. When it's one, you gotta be careful with how you negotiate that, because if you want too much or ask for too much, they might just back away, and then you get nothing in return. Yeah, I think that's true. Let's talk about the upcoming games. So I mentioned that the Pens are playing the Capitals. The Capitals were the only team who had no players playing in this tournament. I think the Pens are going to get spanked tomorrow night. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works out. I mean, it's hard to say. I think, the first 10 minutes of the game are really going to determine how it goes. And,
That's a
there's
good
a good
point.
chance that Washington comes out, on fire. And I I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of these guys. I mean, rust is a real thing.
That's true.
For hockey players. So
Yeah, it does
it
sometimes take them a
it's
period or two to shake it off.
yeah. So it's hard to say, and I don't imagine Sid's going to play. Um,
Yeah,
but,
you know what, the only caveat to that is it is going to kind of be a tribute game to Mike Lang. For those of you who are not Pittsburgh Penguins fans, our longtime Penguins announcer Mike Lang, Hall of Famer by the way, died on Wednesday night, and they're going to definitely have a big tribute to him. I heard Edzo's coming in. He's actually doing the game on Sunday, so he's coming in early to be here for the game on Saturday. And also, there are some old guys in town, because there's that skate with the old guys, tournament that's happening for Pittsburgh. So I think if anything, he might want to play because of that, but his injury still is probably lingering. He wasn't shooting the puck much during the
no.
tournament. The good thing about Sidney Crosby is he doesn't have to shoot to be brilliant at his game, and he could do that easily for the Pittsburgh Penguins too, just dishing it off the racks and Rusty, just letting those guys let it fly. So yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he'll play in one of the two games because they play back to back Saturday, Sunday. Um, yeah, I hope he plays, to be honest with you, but you might be right. He might sit this one out. Uh, Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts? Either future of the hockey, NHL. What are you looking forward to the rest of the year? Give me your
Y-
thoughts.
Yeah. So a couple things. Looking forward to seeing some of these young guys come up from Wilkes. I think especially Ville Kuvanen, who I think
Mhm.
had a big, February so far, and I'm excited. I don't know if I told you I got to go to the Twin Cities for work, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
hoping to go to the Section 3 A double A semifinals. Just happened that's on Tuesday, so
Oh, okay. Cool.
so a buddy of mine's trying to get tickets from another friends of ours whose boy's playing in it. So
Which is
so
crazy to say. Like, you got to find tickets to,
yeah, I'd
something on that
love to
level.
go see some Minnesota high school playoff hockey. So just to put it in context here, I went up to Jamestown. Ben had a game up there last weekend. They sadly, their junior team left Jamestown, moved to Philadelphia actually a year and a half ago. So they have a full on nice junior rink, which
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I was wondering, and I looked it up when I was there. The capacity is 1,900. By comparison, the rink that I'm going to, which is a high school rink used for the semifinals in the sections, where Ben played 2 games his senior year, semis and section final. The
Yeah.
capacity there is 2,400, and they put about 300 in their standing room only. So it gives you a sense of like a
Yeah.
junior rink.
Minnesota hockey versus
Yeah, high
upstate New
school
York.
hockey
Yeah.
compared to a junior rink, like it's that much larger. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. And the NCAA hockey too is coming up on their tournaments. Um,
Yeah,
So
that's right. That's right.
Robert Morris, I think, has their last home games this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to make it out there. I wanted to do that, but yeah, lots of good
Well,
stuff.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to watching Ovi go for it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun in the last 25 games. That's why I bought the ticket to the Pens last game. You never know. It might happen, you know. Did you get your ticket yet for that game, by the way?
I did not get my ticket. I should do that.
You missed the free fees.
I know.
You hate
I
the
know.
most.
No fees. No fees. Yeah, they're trying to do. Maybe they'll bring that back. I shouldn't wait too long though.
Maybe, yeah. Hey, thanks. Thanks for joining us on the Hockey Jesus show today, Scotty. Have a safe trip out to Minnesota. We'll do this again before the end of the year for sure. All right?
Yes, sir. All right.
All right, my friend. It's good seeing you. All right, Hockey Jesus fans, thank you for sticking around. Smash that subscribe button down at the bottom. Hockey's back. Welcome back to the NHL Hockey. Good job, NHL, on the Four Nations face-off. Excellent job, and we'll see you in the next one.